I want to say that I'm really deeply honored to present the first ever Southern California Grantmakers Heart of Philanthropy Award. Photos should be starting now. So I'm keying the photos. As many of you know, Steve Hilton announced his plans to retire as president and CEO of the Conrad Hilton Foundation at the end of this year. When we first heard this news, we realized we wanted to find a way to recognize him for his decades of steady service. With that in mind, we decided to create this new award, the Heart of Philanthropy Award, to honor individuals like Steve who have served our community with extraordinary leadership, innovation, and compassion. Steve, you were the inspiration for this award, and you are our first recipient. This award will not happen annually. This is something very special. Steve Hilton joined our community as a program assistant when he came to the Conrad Hilton Foundation in 1983. I've known Steve almost my entire career. I came to Parsons in 1986, so we kind of grew up together. From that day, from Steve's beginning at the foundation, while clearly he's grown as a leader and he's much more comfortable in the role of being really a worldwide civic leader, he's the same person in his genuine authenticity and humbleness. Steve has always been, and many of you know him, a caring, conscientious, and deeply curious colleague. Aren't those qualities we'd all want to own, caring, conscientious, and curious? He's that way to everyone around him, whether they're grantees, employees, or fellow funders. Steve always took to heart and lives every day a favorite saying of his grandfather: look up to people when you can and down to no one. In 2000, yes, worth applauding. In 2000, 15 years ago, Steve was elected to our board of Southern California Grantmakers, where Steve served 6 years, including as our treasurer. I remember Steve in those early board meetings. He was such a hard worker. His curiosity made him brave. He would raise his hands and ask the questions that the rest of us, even me, were too bashful to ask. That's, a sign of, I think, quality. When you say, I don't know, what does that mean? What are those initials? Really important. But I think really what has impressed me most about Steve is his kindness of heart and his openness of spirit. When Steve speaks to me, I know he's completely present. He's got that quality of being in the moment, in authentic dialogue with you as though you're the only one in the world. Steve listens wholeheartedly. It's a rare quality that I think all of us admire and would do well to emulate. When Steve was being recognized by our board and community for his many talents and leadership skills, he was also moving up the ranks at the Hilton Foundation. Steve did all the hard work. Nothing came to him on a silver platter. He was appointed president of the foundation in 1998, CEO in 2005, and then became chairman of the board in 2012. In between, in his spare time, Steve went back to school at UCLA to earn an MBA. During his tenure, the foundation grew from 7 employees to 56. Meanwhile, the foundation's giving grew from $6 million when Steve started to more than $115 million a year today. What a trajectory of both a personal career entwined with this organizational growth and development. But the Hilton Foundation's impact under Steve's leadership is measured in much more than dollars. With Steve at the helm, the foundation has worked here at home and internationally to help children with HIV and AIDS, to prevent substance abuse, to promote safe water, and provide disaster relief to those hit by tragedy. At one point, Steve was the foundation's program officer for homelessness. It was at that time that his endless curiosity prompted him to reach out to other funders to learn what were they doing about the homeless crisis. He realized that the whole could be greater than sum of the parts, and Steve was very early into the collective impact space, showing real leadership when he put together national funders together to end homelessness. And of course, the news last week was full of praise, including a great story in the Chronicle of Philanthropy about the Hilton Humanitarian Award, a 20-year-old award which has value and impact on the entire world far beyond the prize itself. The list of Steve's achievements goes on and on. He served our community with tremendous dedication, intelligence, and energy for more than 3 decades. We're both still young, I think, despite the length of service we've had in the field. Over the years, it's been a privilege for our organization, Southern California Grantmakers, to play a part in helping him become the leader we all know today. To share a little more about what Steve has meant to us, I'd like to bring up another beloved, longtime SCG member, Shirley Fredericks. Shirley. You know, and while Shirley's walking up here, I want to acknowledge the presence at your table of someone who was very central to the heart of philanthropy for me, for Steve, and everyone who was part of this organization all those many years ago, Harriet Glickman. Harriet, please wave your hand. I know that both Steve and I credit Harriet with giving us the values that really guide our grant making day to day. Shirley.
Thank you. I am going to tell you some things about Steve today that you don't know, and he trusts me. I've known Steve, worked with him, and admired him for 30 years, first as a young program officer, and then as he escalated his career. As Wendy said, he was always eager to learn as much as he could, and I think it's a trait that still distinguishes him today. As president, he has walked an impossible tightrope, acknowledging and balancing his complex family interests, the reputation of the Hilton Corporation, and the sensitive, sometimes super sensitive, internal family relationships, which in the end matter so much to him. He has also shielded the privacy of his family from an often cruel and ignorant celebrity culture so that they could make early mistakes and grow under his sunny guidance. I never saw Steve discouraged, and I never saw him give up on his goals. While transitioning the foundation to a larger and more professional, high-profile private foundation, he nevertheless worked quietly behind the scenes to ensure that his extended family were prepared to become effective philanthropists within a greatly enriched family foundation. And that enrichment was not only a much larger endowment, but also the larger hearts that Steve nurtured there so well. 10 years ago, Steve created Generations of Giving within their foundation to engage the charitable giving of family members, of whom many often did not know a great deal about philanthropy. And that included their next generation. And this organization also served as a training ground for their future board service. They now make recommendations to the full board for independent organizations for grants, and their personal contributions to nonprofits are matched by the board. Their meetings have strengthened their connections to one another as they learn from each other about their passions and motivations. Family members at Hilton also serve one-year internships in rotation so they can attend board meetings as non-voting participants to prepare for their eventual board service. Steve spearheaded a family committee composed of family board members who started meeting when Steve announced his retirement. They examined the future of the family's engagement and created a plan for a significant portion of the foundation's charitable giving that falls outside of their strategic areas. It will start when the new president takes over on January 1st, and the plan was ratified by the full board. They decided that a majority of the Hilton board will always be Conrad's descendants. Steve also strove to create a hospitable and welcoming climate for all, including the staff, and treated both family and staff as one family. Steve made sure that all three branches were represented, and as younger family members came aboard and felt intimidated, his teaching and constant encouragement ensured that they grew into their positions with confidence and even delight. Within the foundation, Steve is admired by both his extended family and his staff as a bridge builder and a peacemaker, and those are words that they chose. He has infinite patience to take the incremental steps that sometimes, initially, only he knows will yield results. Steve, your many peers and friends here today, thank you for your decades of devoted service to philanthropy and the examples you have set as a wise grant maker and an engaged family foundation member. We all need heroes who inspired us to achieve our best, and today, dear Steve, we honor you as our hero.
Thank you, Shirley. On behalf of Shirley, myself, the board, and all of the members of Southern California Grantmakers, it's our great honor, Steve, to present the Southern California Grantmakers inaugural Heart of Philanthropy Award to Steve Hilton.
Yay. That was beautiful.
Oh, the award is piece by piece, one of the arts grant makers that works with disadvantaged populations and creates art. So it's from the nonprofit community with heart to you, and this is our logo. So we thought it might not go home, but at least we hope it might find a place in the office.
It will. It will. Wow. This is, I think in all of our careers, there's those kind of special moments that stand out. And I know in my lifetime, this is one of those moments. I was feeling a little embarrassed as the conversation kept going and going, because you've been all, not only did you slog through the traffic this morning, which I heard was dreadful for many of you, but it's been a pretty hectic morning, a lot of talking, and so I'll try to keep my comments fairly brief. So again, I am so deeply honored, and to hear the words from Wendy and Shirley, they touch my heart deeply, and to be recognized by your peers is something that is truly, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And if I look back on my 30-plus years in philanthropy, I think there's maybe three things that have guided me. One is, and by the way, I think these all resonate with you. One is in my life, legacy. So my grandfather, Conrad Hilton, created Hilton Hotels. And in his last will, he said, I think those words have guided me. And he said, there's a natural law, a divine law, that obliges you and me to relieve the suffering, the destitute, and the disadvantaged. Charity is the supreme virtue, and it unites all men in one great brotherhood. And so that's been my sort of rudder through my career. And I think the other two themes is the heart and the mind, and they connect. And I think our first speaker, Coot, mentioned the word calling when he spoke about what we do. And I've always felt that this is not a job. When I do, it's hard for me to say work, because I know work has a kind of a connotation like you kind of do it because you have to do it. And I've been blessed to do something that I truly find inspiring and just, it fills my life in so many ways that there's no way I could ever envision myself. By the way, I'm a surfer ex-hippie, so the fact that I'm standing here talking to 500 people just blows my mind. So, so I think heart is something that I've always been, felt, and then you feel. And I think the third theme is mind. And I think what I heard from both Wendy and Shirley is that I've always been inquisitive. And I think for me, as a philanthropist, and I think this rings true for all of you, it's that kind of spark that says, what can we do better? What can we learn more? And I think that to me makes life far more interesting than if you just sort of take it step by step without really trying to stretch. So I am so incredibly honored and deeply, deeply touched. So thank you all. Thank you.